Joining us now here on the John Fredericks Radio Network is the last elected Republican standing in Northern Virginia. That's right. There's one man between Northern Virginia and complete Republican Armageddon, and that is House of Delegates member from Fairfax, Tim Hugo, and he's with us now, part of the Kirk Cox leadership team in the House of Delegates. Tim Hugo, thanks for being with us.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for defending us up there on that wall of freedom. I appreciate all you do, keeping Virginia and America safe.
Also, Tim has invited me to do my show out of his office on Veto Day. When is that? April 3rd, right?
April 3rd.
Veto Day will be in Tim Hugo's office. I'll be doing my show there. But Joe Morrissey still banned from the doing a show. I'm sorry, Tim, I can't even say this with a straight face, but I have to get through it. Joe Morrissey still banned from the doing his show on the 6th floor of the House leadership offices because Todd Gilbert has permanently banned him. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Tim, for instance, it's possible that Joe could get elected one day to the General Assembly again. And then if he does, then, well, he could do a show in his own office and have me there as well. So it's just going to be one big happy party, Tim Hugo. Great to have you with us. So you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, we're not talking about Joe Morrissey.
It's been an interesting year, John. You never know what's going to happen down there.
You never know what is going to happen. Although I made a couple of predictions. One, Bernie Sanders is going to be the Democratic nominee, and that's prediction number one. And number two is the Republicans are going to hold the House of Delegates. That's my second prediction. I think they're going to gain 3 to 5 seats. And my third prediction is that the state Senate will be tied 20-20. And then Justin Fairfax will be breaking the tie. So those are my three predictions. Now, let's get to
what about
Delegate
fourth?
Hugo,
Tim Hugo's
part of the
going to win
leadership
again.
team.
Don't forget that one.
What was that?
Don't forget Tim Hugo's going to win again.
Oh, of course, Tim Hugo is going to win again, obviously, and keep he's the last bastion of. It's like one guy in entire Northern Virginia, and he's the guy who's going to do it again. So, Tim, let's get to this. Reggie thing. This thing is like crazy, and it's. I think it's coming up. Why the governor is getting involved in this? But it's called the. I've been talking about it for 2 days. The Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Now, Delegate Hugo, it sounds innocuous enough, doesn't it? The Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. But you told me on the phone the other day that it's going to cost, if it goes through, it's going to cost average Virginians, all Virginians, it's going to cost $500 million over 10 years in increased rates. Is that true?
That's right. It's $500 million, John, and that's the problem. I mean, it sounds innocuous, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, but the problem is $500 million cost, to Virginians, to moms and dads who are trying to pay the bills and put their kids through school, make the mortgage payment, to businesses. That's a problem. And here's the thing: if we really needed to do it, that's one thing. But we're making progress on the environment as it is. Just over the last few years, John, we've gone from, solar. In 2007, we had about 0 megawatts of solar. Now we've got almost, 500 megawatts of solar, doing about 123,000 homes. Clean burning natural gas has gone from 6,800 megawatts to over 15,000 megawatts in 2018. The SO2, the nitric oxide, the emissions have dropped 96 to 70, 75% drop from 2007 to 18. We've created a whole, offshore wind industry. Solar is operational. And John, the fact of the matter is, I've passed a lot of these bills this year. I passed a bill that's going to take a net metering just with the co-ops from 1% to 9%. So where people can basically generate electricity on their home, on their roofs, and sell it back to the industry. So we're doing a great deal. We can just do more, but we don't have to do RGGI, the Regional Gas House, this Regional Gas House initiative that's going to cost $500 million and not work. And here's why it won't work. Because what's happening, John, the most of the regional greenhouse gas initiatives, so hard to say because it doesn't even work, are the Northeast. But we buy most of our power from another group, and they just don't overlap. So the problem is we are going to put about $500 million of costs on our folks. We are going to basically, because the way they operate, lower the costs of all these other groups in the Northeast, and not improve the environment where we are, because we're going to be buying this stuff dirty. We're going to be buying dirtier energy, and it's not going to help us at all, is what they are saying. So it's going to make the governor and some of his allies feel better, but it doesn't work. The only thing it's going to accomplish is putting $500 million worth of costs on Virginians, and it's not going to work. It's foolish.
Well, why has this flown under the radar screen? I mean, other than me talking about it for 2 days, I can't find anything on this anywhere in Virginia. Like the fake news media has just buried it. Is that by design?
I think there's a little bit of that. I think people don't understand it. It's, Reggie. Well, Reggie sounds innocuous. Regional greenhouse gas initiative. It sounds innocuous. It sounds harmless. I don't think people understand it. It's a complicated thing to explain in many ways. But the point is, it's $500 million, and it doesn't work. It's not going to work. And the fact is, there's other things we can do and have been doing over the last. We've created this, like I said, we've created offshore. We're creating the verge of creating offshore solar. We've got solar going in all over the Commonwealth. One of my bills eliminated the machinery and tools tax for some of these environmental renewable processes for solar, and it gets it in solar into these communities where it can help and make a difference and create some jobs and create some economic development. It's a good thing. The environmental renewable industry is good. We should encourage it. Reggie's just not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I just don't think people understand it. I think it makes the governor feel good. Some of his allies feel good. It's become kind of the cause, the little political cause for some of these folks. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think it's going to work. And the studies show it's not going to work.
All right. So what happens? I mean, how do we stop this thing?
Well, we keep putting in the budget that you can't spend money on this. I think the governor's trying to he'll try to veto it out at veto session. I think you'll be there in April. And then also they're trying to go around it in some of these other ways, in some of these regulatory ways, and try to make it happen. I think the General Assembly, the General Assembly has said, don't do this. We have passed it. It has been the stated will of the General Assembly. You do not need to do this. You should not do this. The governor is trying to find every mechanism possible to go around and do this. I think we're just lucky you're out there screaming and letting people know that they're trying to add about $500 million worth of cost. This is what's happening with the Democrats. There are no moderate Democrats anymore. And this is not quite Reggie, but, we saw, John, they're adding it up for this session for 19 and 18. Not my numbers, but the Virginia Chamber. There was over $700 million worth of tax increases that we defeated, mostly from the Democrats. There was that $6 billion worth of regulatory costs that we defeated. This is where they've gone. Mm-hmm. They've gone so far to the left. You're seeing it nationally. You just predicted Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Socialist, is going to be the Democratic, presidential candidate. Well, they've got Elizabeth Warren, they've got Bernie Sanders, they've got Kamala Harris on the national level. Mm-hmm. You're seeing it on the state level too. Mm-hmm. The moderate pro-business Democrat is a thing of the past. Mm-hmm. And on issues like this, on taxes, pick an issue, they're just not there anymore. And I think people are just starting to wake up to realize it on the national level. I hope by listening to your program, by you talking about Reggie, it's a complicated issue, and some of these other things, they see on taxes, on regulation, everything you can think of, the Democratic Party is just turning. They're not even turning the ship, slowly to the left. they're tilting that baby on the side. They're tilting the Titanic on the side and turning it to the left. And I think that's a dangerous thing I think it's dangerous for America. I think it's dangerous for Virginia. And Reggie is another cost that you will see, jammed onto Virginians as the Democrats stick their hand in your wallet and grab money out of it for things that aren't necessary.
I mean, it's those of us that follow Virginia politics, the shift to the left is breathtaking. I mean, we saw it in the House of Delegates, right, with the Kathy Tram and Debbie Rodman, third trimester bill, where this whole thing started, where basically the governor said, yeah, you can terminate a baby and extinguish it or execute it after it's out of the womb. I mean,
he said you'll keep it comfortable so you decide what to do with it. Can you imagine? Keep it comfortable till the doctor decides what to do with it. That's just beyond the pale.
What happened here, Delegate, and by the way, we're with Republican Delegate Tim Hugo. He's a House of Delegates member from Virginia, from Fairfax, Northern Virginia. He is the last elected statewide Republican in all of Northern Virginia. So he is it. He is the guy. But let's when that happened, and my thesis on it was pretty clear, that was a wake-up call to people, because it's like they voted for all these Democrats in the House in 2017, and we had the big wave, and it was like, we want to send Trump a message. We don't like his tweets. We don't like this. We don't like that. We don't like Jared. We don't like his family, so we're going to send them a message. Okay, I get it, right? But then it was like, people saw that, and they're like, what the hell did we do? I mean, we didn't really bargain for this. And that was so in your face, left-wing crackpotism. And it was like, well, let's start digging into this stuff. Who did we put up there? This is why they're in such dire straits. And I think they're going to lose seats. I think you get reelected. But that was just a wake-up call for people, no question about it. Now let's get
it is a wake up call, John, and that's the thing. And like I said, I'm number 3 in the House leadership. You mentioned the Speaker, and Todd's number 2, and I'm number 3. Our number 4 guy, Jackson Miller, who's a great man. He was a military officer, police officer. He got beaten by a guy that says, "I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Democrat socialist," who boggles my mind. He's a Democrat socialist, former Marine. But that's what's happening. And you talked about Kathy Tran. And what I've told the business community and what I tell our friends in churches and wherever it be, look, you keep saying, oh, my goodness, we're going to become like Maryland. No, it's 51-49. So we're about one heart attack away from becoming California or New York. That's where we are. And that's how far the Democratic Party has shifted to the left in the last few years. And the moderate Democrat, the pro-business Democrat, they're gone. And what's left is just scared they're going to get a primary from the even farther left. And that's where we are. That's why you're right. Whether it's Reggie is bad, but it's just a symptom of greater things, what's happening in the Democratic Party as they move to the left. If you think Bernie Sanders is just up in D.C., no, that phenomenon is happening here in Virginia. Wake up, everybody! It's a problem. We're going to be dealing with it in Virginia, in Richmond, in your town halls, in your local supervisor races, and we've got to push back, and we've got to first listen to your show, Wake Up, to see what's happening. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Well, look, the Reggie thing is just one more piece of evidence of the Democrats trying to slip nonsense through in order to assuage their base. No question about it. But, it's interesting that you say the Democratic Party, the elected officials in the State House in Virginia, have always been pretty moderate. And I know there's a lot of my listeners going to get all up because they don't like Sasol, this guy or that guy. But if you look at the Democrats in the state Senate in Northern Virginia, these are all pro-business people. Sasol, pro-business. Janet Howell, pro-business. Adam Eben, pro-business. Chap Peterson, pro-business. Scott Suravel, pro-business. I could go on. I mean, these guys understand the Chamber of Commerce, they understand business, they understand taxes. Now, they're for Medicaid expansion and different things, but the Democratic Party of Virginia in the State House has always been a pro-business, pro-growth, pro-jobs community. Now it's turned on its head to this nonsense. And I'm not sure as all these state senators up there, they're all getting primaried. I forgot to mention Dave Marston, right? Moderate Democrat. All these Democrats who come on my show, they want jobs. Now we've got this new breed that's coming in. I don't know what they want. No energy, pay more for energy, taxes on everything. Get rid of Amazon in New York. I don't know where they're going with this, Tim, but I don't see how they stay. I don't see how they keep their numbers up. I think a bunch of them get beat in the House, and maybe they'll get an adult in the room. I don't know, but right now it's a pretty pathetic situation they have.
Well, John, I'm just saying every one of the people you mentioned, they're all terrified of the left and the farther left, and that's what's happening up here, and that's what's happening around Virginia. Heck, you saw the former Democratic leader David Toscano, who started when he started running for office in Charlottesville as a councilman. He was running first as a socialist. He was getting primaried before he just retired by somebody even farther to the left. Now here's a guy that started as a socialist, and now he's being primaried from somebody even farther to the left. That's where it's going. That's an example of what's happening day after day after day in Northern Virginia to all these people you just mentioned and everybody else. And that's where the Democratic Party is going. If you're a socialist, sometimes you're not even far enough to the left.
Incredible. We're out of time. I want to thank Tim Hugo for being with us, House of Delegates member and part of the number 3 in command in the state Republican caucus in the House of Delegates. Chairman Hugo, thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. People want more information. Where do they go, Tim?
You can come to timhugo.com for information. And then also, too, best place to go listen to the John Fredericks Show every morning.
There you go. The Godzilla of the Truth and